Today's non-scriptural reading comes from a book we actually read in the Women's Club. And it was a difficult book to get through, but it's called Entering the Castle by Carolyn Miss. But there's a paragraph in here, that I want to share with you. Who is a gift in my life? Do you consider just the people you love to be gifts? Everyone is in your life for a purpose. Appreciating the people who appreciate you is effortless. You have to learn to appreciate the reptiles in your soul as well. It is very, very difficult to find a divine purpose for people in your life who have harmed you. But consider that you yourself have harmed people who are busy trying to figure out why you came into their lives. Underneath it all, there is purpose. You can choose to be defeated by adversity or cruelty, or choose to keep going and never to be cruel. These are gifts, great gifts in fact. But of all the many gifts in life that bring joy and grace to the soul, among the greatest is the choice to see the people in our lives as a gift from the divine.
The scriptural reading this morning is from the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 31 and 32. Get rid of all bitterness, all rage and anger, all harsh words, slander and malice of every kind. In place of these, be kind to one another, compassionate and mutually forgiven, just as God has forgiven you in Christ.
Sorry, before I begin, I want you all to think about a time in your life that you made a choice that impacted your life in a small way or a big way, whether it was for the good or bad. If anybody wants to share, you can share if you want. Anybody?
My choice to be my hometown is changed my life.
All right. Anybody else?
I decided to stick my toe into nursing and took a nurse aid class, which I loved. Then I stuck my foot in, took an LPN class, which I loved even more. But then that was as far as I went. And I had a career for many years that I really, really loved.
Anybody else have anything to share? All right. So today I'm going to talk about how the choices we make can impact the rest of our lives and how we respond to others who seek out to destroy us or just hurt our feelings. And how we choose to react will affect the outcome. We can choose to live in love, or we can choose to live with hate and bitterness. Loving what you hate can be very difficult. But it's necessary for our mental health. The other person probably isn't worrying about what you're feeling or thinking. So you have to take care of yourself. I am going to share a very personal story that I don't normally share. A few select people know this story, but this had the choice I made, which was a bad choice at the time, but it worked out okay. How it got me actually to Sacred Journeys. So years ago, now I have to preface that this is way, before I met Greg, and after my divorce, I was very vulnerable. And there was a guy I was working with, and talk about putting on the charm. He knew the right things to say, to make me feel good about myself, because I really, back then, I really thought I was a pile of, I just didn't know what was happening with my life. But anyways, he charmed and wooed me, and they ended up having an affair, which I didn't have any business doing that because I knew he had a girlfriend. But I was so flattered, I guess I got caught up in that moment. But of course, what happens eventually is she walked in on us, literally. Of course, I was utterly and totally humiliated. She, of course, was very angry and upset. So, the affair ended, but then things went from worse to even more worse. We had to work side by side, and he started making hurtful comments to me like, what are all those scars from? The scars that I have are from me picking from stuff that happened when I was a child, which I won't get into. But that was the way I kind of expressed my anger, I guess. And then, of course, this incident made me upset. But he would say things like, oh, you must have some kind of disease, referring to the scars I had. But then it escalated. My car started getting damaged. My door got smashed in, scratches, but he still wasn't done. Vacation where I worked was based on seniority, and I had more seniority than he did. And I just signed up for my week. I wasn't thinking about what he was doing. I just wanted the week that I wanted. Well, he apparently signed up for the same week, but it was granted to me because of my seniority. This is the hard part. So my doorbell rang. I lived in the upstairs flat by myself at that time. So I went down to see who it was, and it was him and his girlfriend. And he was yelling at me that I deliberately took that same little vacation as he did, and saying things like, you're gonna pay for this. And if anybody's come across evil, like I mean real evil, that's what I was looking into the eyes of that night. His eyes were so dark, and I thought, if there's any light left in him, which has to be in there somewhere, he'd have to do a lot of excavating of himself to even try and find it. But it scared me. It terrified me. I thought he was going to kill me. I really did. So I went upstairs after they left my apartment. And throughout my life, I've suffered with depression and things like that. So this just put it at another level. This just sank me into a deep, dark well of despair, and I didn't think I could get out of it. I knew I couldn't get myself out of that because I didn't know what to do. So I was crying hysterically in my apartment. Lights were off, it was dark. I was just crying out, someone, please help me. I knew I needed help. And I knew if something didn't change, that I would have not been here today. I know I would have successfully committed suicide. So I knew I was at the brink of something. And, but all of a sudden I felt this warm light come over me. And I looked up, and in the corner of my dining room was this beautiful angel. Wings of pinks, purples, blues, unlike any color I've ever seen on earth, wrapping me up with unconditional love. And by having that experience, it didn't last very long. I think maybe it was 5 minutes, maybe 10, I don't know. I don't remember. I knew that I had to change, so that's what I did, I prayed. So, after this escalation, I went and got a restraining order against him. However, the boss that I had, we didn't have to work side by side, but the boss still was having us work side by side, even though I had a restraining order. So I went to him and I'm like, I have a restraining order, and this is what he said to me. Now, the guy I was with, who I was having an affair with, that I shouldn't have been, if you can imagine, a 6 feet tall, physically fit. And when I told my boss that, I was uncomfortable, and he said, well, he's scared of you. Say what? Really? No, I don't think so. So I ended up transferring, and I still was having damage done to my car. But after about a week, I met Greg, and me and Greg were just friends for a while because he helped me through this whole process of trying to deal with this. So we weren't dating at that time. But I also started to look inside myself to see, because obviously choices I had made were working for me. And I needed a direction. And I hadn't gone to church in a very long time because I was raised Missouri Synod Lutheran, which is the fear base that if you step out of line, you're doomed. And that just didn't sit with me. So, but I started like really looking at myself and seeing, what I could do. It was a lot of self-work. I had to learn to love myself. That's a hard thing. I just thought that I was just this worthless thing that didn't deserve anybody. And while I was trying to help myself, and then after Greg and I did get involved, it wasn't pretty at first, I can tell you that, because I figured he would leave me, so what am I going to do? I'm going to push everything away because I didn't think I deserved a love like that. And sometimes it came out in the worst way, even though I was trying to be more loving, more better about going about life. He always said though, honey, I'm not leaving you. I'm staying by your side. So no matter how hard I pushed to push him out, he stayed with me. And that love, I now know that I am worthy, that I am worth something. I work on this all the time. I'm very conscious, and once you start thinking about, really thinking about how to treat others, or when people get angry at me, and I know I'm still going to get hurt because I have no room to judge because I don't know what their story is. We all have our own story, right? We all go through our own obstacles in life that we have to surmount. And, I could have chosen to live in bitterness with all this, be angry at him for what happened. But it wasn't just him, it was me too. So I actually, I had to forgive him, not for him, but for me, to help heal myself. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I thank him. Because if that hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't be at Sacred Journeys today. But in trying to find a spiritual community at that time, so I needed some more support. So I tried a couple of churches and literally walked out in the middle of the sermon because it was all fire and damnation. You must fear the Lord and all of that, and I just didn't like that. So one day, I heard about Olympia Brown, and so I went there, and I felt very welcomed, and as like Sharon went there, it served my needs for a while. But before this incident happened, I used to almost it was kind of two sides of a coin because I wanted to be invisible so no one would notice me, but yet, you know, you like to be complimented and, you know, hear nice things. So before, I would like try and go over the top to get people to accept me. You know, and people were kind of put off by that behavior. I don't do that anymore. I wear what I want, as you know. I actually love myself. That is a challenge in and of itself. But, you know, and going to Olympia Brown, it was nice. It told me some really good minister, but I had gone to, you know, Racine had the first Pride Fest, and I had attended one where Kay was a speaker. And I really loved what she had to say. And I thought, okay, what is this sacred journey all about? So I went and talked to her after the event was over, and it was during the summer, and Julie had said services at 10 o'clock. This was in the summer. So I decided to check it out, and when I got here, it was 10 o'clock. Wait, no, it was 9:30 because it was before Labor Day. But I showed up at 10 o'clock in the middle. I'm like, oh, whoops. But I came back and was here at the right time. But I loved what she has to say, and she challenges me to grow. I was doing both for a while. I was Olympia Brown 1 week, Sacred Journeys 1 week. I was trying to figure out where I wanted to be fitted. The only thing I can say about Tony is, you know, very sweet, but his sermons were all like Easter Sunday, he had the same exact sermon. Right, Jared? He tells the same story, so it was like, okay, I've heard this now for 10 years, I need something different. And then I picked Sacred Journeys as my spiritual community. And now, you know, when someone yells at me, I try to take a step back and just, okay, I don't know what's going on in your life, you know, but I have to talk to you calmly. And that usually will bring people down a notch. You know, so it doesn't always work. Some people, you know, you just can't. But again, you know, you don't know what their story is. You don't know if they're abused at home. You don't know if they just got divorced, or they lost a loved one, or whatever it may be. So I've chosen to live with love. It's not perfect, but I'm just free, just to be me. I don't worry about what others think. I live my life the best I can, and as Paul says to us in Ephesians, get rid of the bitterness, rage, anger, harsh words, slander, malice of every kind. Be kind to one another, compassionate, forgiving, and loving. We all just want to be loved. And if we all made an effort, a small effort, maybe this world would get to a better place. You have to be forgiving, just as the divine forgives us. So I end with this. What will you choose? Amen.